Hi everyone. I wanted to share some recent reflections that have been on my mind. Sometimes it feels like a crime to have hope, to think optimistically, to dream and believe of a world where everyone wins, where everyone is successful, where everyone is free, where everyone is healed, where nobody has to struggle and suffer. Sometimes it feels like a crime to believe that or just envision that is possible. And even more when you share it online, because a lot of responses are very just angry projections of people's reality and why a better world where everyone is free and everyone wins, they share why that's never going to be possible. But I don't like to think it's never going to be possible. I think it's very, very possible. It's just a matter of when. And if I, in my physical vessel as I am, if I will be around to see that happen. But I believe in a better world like that. These thoughts kind of emerged after I saw a TikTok. Somebody that I follow, she duetted another person, and the original poster, who was saying that people who are stagnant are essential. People who are very scared and fearful, risk averse, who like to play it safe and comfortable, people who are, he said, trapped in the consumer cycle, they are very important people because they keep the economy going. And that people who are risk takers, who are not afraid to jump into things regardless of how they feel, if they're scared or if they can't really see the outcomes, he said those are the people who deserve the opportunities and the doors that open to them. And those opportunities and doors would not open to them unless people who were scared, who were kind of like confined and limited to their fears, unless those people exist. And I don't know if he's like a business coach or an entrepreneur coach, but the woman that I follow who duetted his video, I believe she is like a business coach, entrepreneur coach, and then kind of like integrates spirituality with it. And at first, okay, and she was like hard agreeing in her duet. She was like, yes, exactly what he's saying. And when I first, listened to that video, I strongly agreed as well, because it reminded me of the saying, there is space for everyone to win, but not everyone will win. But then I just kind of thought about it for the rest of the day, and I was feeling a little bit uneasy about it. And he called, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, he called the people who are like stagnant and confined by their fears, he called them cogs. People who are trapped in the consumer cycle and keep the economy running, he called them cogs. And he said cogs are essential so that the risk takers can succeed. He said we need cogs. Cogs are needed, cogs are essential, they are necessary. And it had me question, for what? For who? Cogs are necessary for what? For life? In just life itself? Or is it a specific way of life? And then with that, plus thinking about the saying, there is space for everyone to win, but not everyone will win. That last part, but not everyone will win, it had me thinking like, but I want everyone to win. I want everyone to win. I want everyone to be free, to be at peace, to be healed. Why can't we have a world like that? And then I realized, what that guy was saying, the stuff that he was preaching, it's stuff that upholds our current societal structure, something that upholds capitalism. And what did he say? That, yeah, the cogs, the people trapped in the consumer cycle, are the people who keep the economy going, running, keep the economy being the economy. And it reminded me of this comment I saw last week on a different TikTok. I forgot what the video was about, but the comment said the economy doesn't care. The economy always evaluates, assesses, reports on how businesses are doing. The economy does not care how people are doing. And that just came up in my head, or my memory. And it was just like, why? Why do cogs have to exist? Why do people have to be contained by their fear in order for others to succeed? Like, why can't we all win? Why can't we all be free? Why can't we all be healed and be at peace? Like, why? And it brought up the question, do people actually want change? Like structural, institutional change? Or do they just want to change their place in the system? Because once you start to benefit from the system, why would you want to change it? Would you want to change it? So then I started to think about the women and women of color, business leaders, founders, CEOs, executives that I have been following. I have, read their stories and have been inspired by them. I started to think about that. I started to think about them and the narratives of disruption and innovation and doing things so differently. And I love seeing women, especially women of color, in those executive positions, in those top leadership positions that in the past have been mainly filled by white men. But it really raised a question of like, what exactly is change? A lot of this change that's disruptive and innovative, it's stuff in like the consumer markets, in the consumer industries, but as of like the structure of your business, it still looks like everybody else's. It still has that pyramid hierarchy, the CEO, the execs are at the top and they make more money than everyone else, and the people at the bottom who kind of, they keep the company going, they keep the company alive, they're the ones with the fixed salaries or hourly wages that are a fraction of the people at the top's salary. The ones who maybe like their time is really like micromanaged if they're clocking in and stuff, like is your company actually really different if your job description looks the same? Like 40-hour work week, 9 to 5 plus commute, benefits package, PTO, what you can or can't do with your time. And I realized like it's still the same thing. It's still upholding the current system that we have. It's just whoever's at the top benefiting from it are different now. More women of colors. And I love to see women, succeeding and in those kinds of positions, but it really brought up the question of what exactly is changing? Is anything actually changing? And, change can happen in so many different ways. Sometimes it's like directly outside of a certain system, and others it's like dismantling the system from within. But it really just brought up that question for me, because I don't know if, I'm pretty sure I've shared this in like a different video, but I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. When I was little, in multiple grades, I would make things and then sell them at school, and then I'd get in trouble because apparently you're not supposed to do that. Like, I've always had that entrepreneurial spirit, and I've always wanted to be like a business woman, CEO, founder, stuff like that. And then when, as I went through school, and you learn things about like morality, education, geography, where different materials come from, how they are sourced, who they are sourced by. Like, if when you think about like ethics, morality, sustainability, and plus business practices, it could be a little bit more complex. But sometimes I like to daydream if I was a founder, CEO, and mind you, like, this is all like hypothetical, imaginative, but sometimes I like to daydream, like, if I was a founder, CEO, and I built a business and I was able to scale it and expand it, I would not want to hire people, because one of my core beliefs is that you should not spend the majority of your life working a job that makes you miserable and sucks the soul out of you. Right? Like, well, what's the saying? I don't believe humans are meant for 9 to 5s or whatever other job structures out there. Like, when I believe that, I really believe that outside of me as well. So I could just, like, when I daydream, like, I just can't imagine, or I just wouldn't feel good employing people with that kind of pyramid structure where, okay, you're gonna basically be given minimal wage and you have to come in from 9 to 5, and then you like accrue PTO based on how many days you've come in, and thrives in fast-paced, high-stress environments, even though we're not in the hospital. Like, I would not want to. For me, it just doesn't make sense that if I don't believe in the 9 to 5, I'm just gonna use 9 to 5 as an example. I know there are other work structures out there. It's, for me, it just didn't make sense that if I don't believe in the 9 to 5, why would I put that on to other people? Does that make sense? I don't believe people are supposed to, work at a desk in an angular building with gray walls and blinding overhead ceiling light and probably like no windows for natural light. I don't believe that's where people are meant to be. And I don't believe that's where I'm meant to be. I don't believe if you're watching this, I don't believe that's where you are meant to be. So like I said, if I was a CEO, founder, and I had a business, it wouldn't make sense for me, who doesn't believe in the 9 to 5, to then employ people and give them a 9 to 5 to keep my business, my empire running, to keep it alive. Is that what current business models are like? Yeah, that is what the current structure of society is like. So it raises the question, like, are there other ways to expand out of that model? And like every other month or something, there's always a new founder, CEO, at least like on TikTok, kind of under fire, public scrutiny, because they make some kind of statement expecting their low salaried employees to have the same mindset and passion of keeping their business alive, like the founder's business alive. Am I making sense? Like a founder will say something like, people don't work hard enough, or they just don't have enough passion and drive. And it's like, girl, because that's not their business, that's your business. Like, yes, your product may be new, may be innovative, or your service, but like your, however the behind the scenes work of how everything is done is pretty much the same to what's been done in the past. Is your work structure actually something new, a breath of fresh air, or is it simply not as bad as others or as past models? Mainly with that 40-hour work week structure and clocking in and sick days and PTO, because it's like, who is taking risks? And I know there are companies taking risks. I've read about them maybe like once a year or something, like one company. I mean, I don't actively seek it out, but it's like, you know, like, who is taking that risk of, instead of 40-hour work week, we're going to do 30-hour work weeks? Or I don't know, something with salaries and stuff. Like new systems, new structures that challenge and deviate from what is normal, whether that's how many hours you work or how flexible you can do work from home, or maybe even how your office looks like. Who is actually doing something different in terms of systems, structures, institutions, and not just the products and services you bring to consumers. And again, that other question of, do people actually want change? Do they want the system to crumble and build a new one, a different one? Do they want reform? Or do they just want to change their spot in the system until they're in a position that where they get to benefit from it? I think I covered most of like what I wrote about or what I wanted to say regarding this. If you agree or disagree, I would love to read about it. If you also hold hope and optimism for a better world where everybody is free and everybody wins and everybody is healed and nobody struggles and suffers and there's not much pain, you know, everyone's aware and conscious and just free, I would love to know too. I feel like it's hard to come across people like that, and when I do or like share that, I'm met with, that's not realistic. Hold space for nuance. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Like, comment, subscribe, share, repost, save. And I'll see you on my next video. I love you all so much. Thank you for watching.